Welcome to the Holiday Podcast, where we sit over homemade challah at my table on Friday afternoons. I'm your host, Tammy Priest, a Jewish follower of Jesus, and it's great to be with you again today as we talk about the intersection of the old and the new. Well, it's hard to believe, but we're just a few hours away from 2022. And I know a lot of us are looking forward to a fresh start, to putting 2021 behind us. Kind of like we said about 2020, actually, a year ago. Now, don't get me wrong, 2021 has definitely had some really great moments. We were able to spend time with so many loved ones that we hadn't seen since before the pandemic. And my husband was recognized in some really special ways for all his work during the pandemic, and I'm so incredibly proud of him. And our kids have had some really special things in their lives too. But I'll admit that I've also been tempted to box up a lot of 2021 and, I don't know, just like chuck it out the window. Lots of disappointments and pain and frustrations. I'm sure you have your own list. Things we just don't want to revisit or think about at all. But when I had that thought this week about just basically erasing some things from my memory as we head into the new year, God brought the concept of biblical remembering into my head. So the Hebrew word for remember is zakar, and it means more than just picturing in your mind something from the past. I love how one rabbi explains it right here. He says, in the Bible, remembering, particularly on the part of God, is not the retention or recollection of a mental image, but a focusing upon the object of memory that results in action. So remembering is focusing upon the object of memory that results in action. And so I decided that for New Year's, instead of just mentally erasing 2021's unpleasant memories, I'd spend some time today remembering them, not to rehash negativity, but to remember God's action on my behalf in those times, how He actively remembered me in those moments, lessons that He taught me, comfort that He gave me, direction that He showed. And sometimes His zakar, His remembering, was simply the action of letting me know He was near, that He was with me, which is really what we just celebrated last week, right? God with us, Emmanuel. And there's actually this other cool thing about the meaning of zakar. One Hebrew lexicon explained that the root origin of the word literally has to do with piercing, was the word they used. And when we look from Christmas, Emmanuel, to Easter, we know that the way Jesus ultimately remembered us, the action He ultimately took, was to be pierced for all of us, remembering all our brokenness, not just by thinking about it, but by taking action, being pierced to bring us through all our difficult moments that sometimes feel too painful to think about, things we've done and things done to us. God remembers. He acted. Jesus was pierced. And since we know how the Messiah remembered us, how He took action to rescue us on the cross, we can also allow ourselves to think back on 2021, how He remembered and cared for us in this past year. And knowing that we can also trust that He has already remembered, taken action on our behalf for whatever happens in 2022. Even things we can't begin to think or imagine yet. And so on this New Year's Eve, which is also Sabbath Eve, I pray that we would each find joy and comfort and rest in the fact that Jesus remembered us on Calvary and that He will continue to remember us being active in our lives in this new year ahead. So God's peace and remembrance to you on this New Year's Eve holiday.